Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric Eulis, and I'm with the Human Resources Department here at Columbus City Schools. I hope everybody's been having a very good training day and things are going well for everyone. Lisa, just a quick, if you can give me a quick thumbs up or thumbs down, did you start recording or was that someone else? You started, okay, perfect. So we will go ahead and get started. So this presentation, we have an hour blocked. It will probably take about 30 minutes. A few quick reminders for this presentation. So in this presentation, we will go over an introduction to the leaves team, COVID-related remote work, injury reporting and workers' compensation. And this presentation is primarily designed to be for building professionals or at the building level that have questions about leaves of absence. If you have any questions, please wait until the end of the presentation and then we'll open it up. You're also free to submit questions into the chat box, and I'll get a transcript of those later and try to respond back to you guys via email with answers. And if you have any questions specifically about your own leave of absence, or you have a very specific question about your own building, please email me. I'll put my email address up in a second. Sometimes there are medical confidentiality issues we have to be conscious of, and everybody's leave is very, very different. Our leave rules are very complex. So if you have a question about your own leave, please make sure that you email me directly and we can discuss it one-on-one rather than with the group. So obviously I'm Eric Eulis. I'm the manager of Time Away here with Columbus City Schools. I've been here about 2 years. My email address is on the screen and we will put that in the chat box as well. And my phone number is there as well. And our department, the leaves team in Human Resources, primarily handles all leaves of absence. That includes things like FMLA, jury duty, subpoenas. If somebody is out on a leave of absence and needs to return, our office handles that. We also handle COVID-related remote work, injury reporting and workers' compensation, and the fitness for duty process. Some of you who may have worked with your administrators might be familiar with fitness for duty. I really won't touch too much on that in the presentation today. But if you have any questions about that, feel free to shoot me an email. So the leaves team has changed a lot over the last 2 years. First of all, if you're not aware, Human Resources has moved to 3700 South High Street. Most of you should be aware. If not, and you ever need to send somebody to HR, please do not send them to 270 East State Street. We are no longer there. We are now at 3700 South High. The leaves team now consists of 4 people. Dawn Golden is our certified staff person that handles certified leaves. So if you ever have a question about a leave for a teacher, Dawn Golden would be the person for that. The next person is Janet McCoy. She handles all classified staff member leaves of absence. Penny Roth, if you've ever had to file an accident report or a workers' comp claim, you know Penny. She handles workers' comp and is our team lead for the leaves of absence team. And many of you know Adrienne Thomas. She has been here for many years. She retired, but graciously agreed to come back and help us out. And she handles odds and ends for us as a substitute and works a limited number of hours per week. But if you ever need to reach anybody in our department, I have put our contact info up on the screen. It is leaves of absence, that's leaves with an S, at Columbus K12.oh.us. The main number is 614-365-6791. That is Adrienne's old number. It is now our department number. So that will ring several people in our department. And we do monitor both the voicemails and the leaves of absence inbox constantly. The reason I'm giving you this general email is because sometimes a lot of people, you know, if they have a relationship with Janet or Adrienne, they like to reach out to them directly for a lot of stuff. Sometimes they might be out of the office and it might be a day or two before their question gets answered because somebody is out of the office. If you send a leave related question to our general inbox or leave a voicemail for us on the general line, people monitor that every day and there's somebody monitored to assign it every day so we can get to that more quickly for you. But if you do feel more comfortable reaching out to individual folks, that's fine as well. So just a humble brag, of course I pressed the wrong button. In the last year, we've had a very busy year in the leaves team, and we have processed just this year 591 leaves of absence for classified staff members, 571 certified leaves, 509 remote work requests, and 464 accident reports, which is workers' comp. So it's been a busy year for us, and this is not an unusual number. You would think because of the pandemic, some of this may have spiked. The only thing that's high is remote work requests. Everything else is pretty standard for us. So I just wanted to give everyone an update on how the leaves of absence process generally works when a staff member goes on a leave of absence and what you at the building level will receive. So if you are a building secretary and a staff member at your building goes out on a leave of absence, both the staff member and their supervisor will receive an approval letter via email. We used to send these out via interoffice mail. We found that sometimes it was taking too long or they never got into the right hands. And then the pandemic happened. Obviously, we couldn't send these interoffice mail if we weren't in the office while we were remote. So both the supervisor and the staff member, once they are approved for FMLA, will get an approval letter via email. And that will state the start date of the leave and the expected return date if the person is returning. If it is intermittent leave, it'll state the start date and the end date of the intermittent leave period. It's usually a year. Sometimes people do it a little bit shorter. If they are a classified member and they've been approved for FMLA, after the supervisor and the staff member receive the email, payroll will load FMLA time into Kronos that the timekeeper can then use if the person tells you they need to use FMLA. If you have any questions about, hey, why isn't FMLA showing up? I know this person was approved. Please reach out to us at the email address that I just shared with you. If they are a certified staff member or like an IA that needs a leave of absence and needs a substitute, once we approve a leave of absence, our team will handle entering their absence into Red Rover. Anything before it's formally approved, which is when we send the letter, should be entered by the employee. And if the employee is not doing it, the building should be entering. This is new, and we have not really had a chance to establish these written procedures because of COVID. We had just been doing this start to finish, just trying to get an idea of who is out there. But the process is that once it's approved, our team will enter it into Red Rover for you. But if it has not been approved, a leave of absence has not been approved, then the employee should be putting it in, or the building can be putting it in. An update also on our return to work process. If you've been in the district for a while, you remember that we used to have employees see Dr. Stevens or the board physician at health services before they could return from a medical leave of absence for themselves. Again, because of the pandemic, this was not feasible, so we discontinued that practice. And right now we are sticking to that. We don't require individuals to see the board doctor to return, but they still do have to give HR a note stating that they are cleared to return to work and the date. There are some exceptions. Bus drivers and other folks do still need to see Doc Stevens, but generally I don't think most people in this group would fall into that category or manage those types of people. If you do, email me and we'll talk, but generally transportation knows those rules. So again, staff members do not need to see the board doctor to return to work. They just need to send a return to work clearance note from their own doctor to the leaves team here in leaves of absence. Once we get it and we see the date, we see that the person has been medically cleared to return to work, we will send an email to the supervisor and the employee stating that they are cleared to return and the date of return. If you have an employee that returns to work and just shows up without seeing this clearance email from your building supervisor, please contact us, because it probably means this person either forgot to fax a note to us or get a note to us, or hasn't been given permission yet to return to work, and we need to get that cleared up. So you can contact us again at the main contact info for the leaves team, which is leavesofabsence@columbusK12oh.us or 365-6791. And that brings us to COVID-related remote work. So this is new for 21-22. In this school year, as a result of a MOU, originally it started with CEA, and then it carried over to all other employee groups. If an employee may remote work due to COVID-19 related reasons, if they meet the following criteria: the employee is quarantined or COVID positive. And if you notice, I put an asterisk there. Quarantined, there are many variables that determine a quarantine. And the best people to determine if you are quarantined or somebody is quarantined are health services or your school nurse. If they're not sure, then you definitely want to reach out to health services. So person has to be quarantined or COVID positive, feels well enough to remote work, and the nature of their position allows for remote work. So for example, and I always hate to bring this example up, bus drivers, it's not really a position that allows for remote work. Custodians, they have to be physically in the building in order to, do their job, so that wouldn't allow for remote work. School secretaries, IAs, other types of staff, we do permit remote work for, because they can interact virtually with other people. So again, it depends on the position. If you're not sure if you would be eligible, you can reach out to us and we would let you know. So these are the three qualifiers in order to be eligible for remote work. Again, you have to be quarantined or COVID positive, feel well enough to remote work, and the nature of your position allows for remote work. To apply for COVID-related remote work, an employee should first report their symptoms or status to their supervisor and follow all normal call-off procedures. We've had a few folks go to us first, and we usually check with the building to say, hey, did this person report that they were ill with COVID to you? And the building doesn't know anything about it. So follow the normal call-off procedures first, let the school building nurse know that, what's going on, or let the principal know what's going on. And then once that's happened, the individual can contact us at leaves of absence. Again, somebody monitors this all day, requesting remote work. Our team will then send them a link to a form, an e-form, and then the person can fill it out. And then if the individual is approved, the employee and the supervisor will receive an email confirming the allowed dates of remote work. Right now, current CDC guidelines are that people need to be quarantined for 5 days, and if they don't feel better, then 10 days. And that's typically the period that we allow for remote work. Anything beyond the 10, we start discussing FMLA with the individual. The length of COVID-related remote work is dependent on the first date of symptoms, date exposed, or date tested positive. And again, as I mentioned, any time longer than 10 days has to utilize sick leave. Questions regarding your return to work date should be directed to health services and or the school district contact tracers. And it should be noted that there are many different variables that go into remote work, so each one can look different. We've had situations where two people that know each other really well may have ended up, with COVID, but because of the circumstances, one may have been vaccinated, one may have not been vaccinated, one may have been symptomatic, one may have not been symptomatic but exposed. One person could get remote work, the other person did not. It is a very complex process, so it's possible for each instance to look a little bit different. The leaves team here on our end, if the person enters time into Red Rover, we'll put them in Red Rover for remote work. And this allows them, Red Rover, to still call out for a sub if a sub is needed for that person physically in the building. And then also the employee's timekeeper has the ability to enter remote work into Kronos. And again, the question is, well, how do I know if somebody in my building is approved for remote work and I'm their timekeeper? We will notify the supervisor directly and the employee that they're approved and the dates, and the supervisor should be communicating that with the building's timekeeper. And that brings us to accident reporting and workers' compensation. So Penny Roth is our workers' compensation coordinator. That is her contact information right there if you have any questions. And again, this information we will have available after the presentation as well for you to view. And we can also forward out this contact info if you need it. The district, if you have paper accident reporting forms anywhere in your building, please get rid of them. We do not take accident reports any longer on paper. If a staff member is injured in the building, it needs to be completed through Public School Works, and I will show you how to do that here in a second. But we still get paper forms sent to us on a regular basis. We have not used those for 3 years now. So if you have a paper accident reporting form anywhere, you are okay to recycle those because we do everything electronically now in terms of accident reporting. And if you have any questions about accident reporting or workers' compensation, you want to reach out to Penny Roth. Her contact info is up here. And then there's also a general inbox that all of us take a look at, but Penny is also in there too. So let me very quickly show you how to complete an accident report. And Lisa, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the webpage, district webpage? Perfect. So to complete an accident report, either for an employee or if you're the employee's supervisor, you would go to staff and just click on staff up here on our main webpage. And then right here is workplace injury and illness reporting. And you would click on this link. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit so you guys can actually see. So you would click on workplace injury, illness reporting. And you will not see many of these options, but up at the top is report accident or injury right here. It'll give you two options. If you're the injured employee, the employee can fill that out. If you are the employee's supervisor, you would click on the second link. I'm going to fill it. I'll show you both options, but I'm going to fill out the first one.
Hello?
Injured employee. And then I will click on, now if you know your login credentials, if you don't know your login credentials, it'll still take a report. I don't know my login credentials. A lot of people don't for Public School Works. And it'll ask you first name, last name, a lot of information, social. Yes, we do need that because if you're going to file a workers' comp claim, we have to have your social security number. Public School Works is secure and it meets all of the security requirements the district set out. So it is a secure portal. And then you would just go through, fill out the information. And then what will happen is Penny Roth will contact you if you're the injured employee within 24 hours to walk you through the workers' compensation process. Let's say that you are the person's supervisor or your principal says, hey, I've got something going on in the lunchroom. Can you fill out this real injury report really quick for me? You would click here if you are not the injured employee. And then you would fill out the information as best you know it. Sometimes people have not submitted injury reports because they don't know things like the person's social. If you don't know information, it is okay to punch in a bunch of zeros or nines or whatever it'll take, because Penny, after the fact, will look at this and correct anything that looks funny. We would rather get the information than not have it be submitted to us. And then you would just fill this out as best you can. This triggers Penny to call and to file a workers' comp claim if we do need to file one and follow up with the employee. So again, you would navigate to our webpage. Click on staff. Workplace injury illness reporting right here. And then report accident injury and select the type of person. And again, it's okay if you don't know the information and you like for things that need like date of birth or other stuff, and you're fine to punch in random zeros or nines. We'd rather get the information quickly than late. So if somebody is injured, it's a requirement from CCS that the building, the supervisor, somebody notify us of the incident within 24 hours. Even if you just need to call, like something is going on, you're not in the building and you knew that somebody was injured, You can call Penny, you can leave a voicemail, that kicks the process off for us. But we do need to be notified within 24 hours of an employee being injured at work. I also want to make a note that this form is not for students or visitors to the school building. This is strictly for staff members. Because occasionally we will get an incident report for a student. And that is a separate form. So coming soon, I did want to let everybody know that starting in July of this school year, the district will have a new third-party administrator called Broadspire to handle leaves of absence intake. As you know, the leaves team still uses fax machines. They are secure, but we have physical fax machines. We really want to get a better way for folks to be able to get stuff to us quickly and easily. And with our fax machines here, if two people send a fax at the same time, one gets bounced out. So Broadspire does not have that limitation, and we'll be able to provide better customer service and interact with customers much more quickly than we would be able to here. And it allows for better turnaround times, better documentation. This is something we've had in the works for a very long time, and we're really excited to roll this out to the district. So when you need to request a leave of absence in the new school year in 22-23, you'll do it through an entity called Broadspire. Everything they do is secure, and they follow all HIPAA rules and regulations. They would communicate the leave once it's approved to us, and it would be a quicker turnaround time going through Broadspire than it would through Columbus City Schools. That doesn't mean Penny, Dawn, Janet, Adrian, they're all staying. They will just handle the intake of our leaves of absence, this new third-party administrator. So if you have any questions, we'll address questions here in a second, but if you have questions specific to your own circumstance, or say, hey, I've got a staff member that's absent all the time, I think they're on a leave, I'm not sure, send those to me directly. I'll put my email address in the chat box here. If you have a general leave question, again, reach out to us at leavesofabsence@columbus.k12.oh.us or 614-365-6791. One other thing that I want to mention to everybody, so HR has been growing and HR has been changing. There are a lot of people in HR to try to keep track of who you need to talk to for what. We just rolled out an email address it's been in place for about a year, but not a lot of people know about it. If you ever don't know who to contact in HR, email hr@columbus.k12.oh.us. People monitor those every day, and they know exactly who to send the questions to. So we do have our own dedicated email address. If you're having trouble trying to figure out who to call or who to speak with in HR, they will get you to the right place. And I'm working on getting my email in. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I saw a very good question, and then I'll open the floor up to questions. I saw a question about, are employees able to work remotely for reasons other than COVID? I can only answer that as through HR. HR is only authorized to allow remote work for COVID, and that is only running through this school year. I don't know if that will be continued next school year. If you have you can also try to request an accommodation through the ADA office if you have a medical condition that might require you to work remotely. And to do that, I will give you the email address for that. The ADA requests here at Columbus City Schools are handled through a separate office than HR. And if you email them at adarequest@columbus.k12oh.us, they can give you a little bit of information on that. So if you have a question, if you want to place it in the chat, and I will try to answer those as best I can in the 15 minutes that we have remaining.
I have a question, if I may.
Sure. Go ahead.
What about educational leave of absence? And are they looking to modify that since we have such a shortage on teachers in order for those who are completing the bachelor's degree to become licensed to do that student teaching?
Yeah, no, I would love it if we did. I don't have any updates on that for now. I would love it if we did it a little bit differently. But I would advise you to talk to, are you an OPSI?
Yes, sir.
I would advise you to talk to Lois about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then I have a few other questions here. So is the process the same for leaves of absence if an employee is doing student teaching? I'm assuming you mean if they're out on an educational leave, Christina? Yes, so there is a process called educational leave where an OPSI employee can take 1 semester unpaid to perform their student teaching if they're going through a bachelor's degree program to become a teacher. So you don't have to get a doctor's note or anything, Christina, you just have to apply. And if you email the leaves team, they will send you an application and then they'll help you out with what you need for that. Next one was Elizabeth. If an employee needs to go to the hospital or urgent care, should they start to fill out the form and then print it off and have a physician sign it? No. If a person is badly hurt, just the supervisor needs to fill out the form so we're aware that somebody had to go to the hospital or the urgent care, and then we will follow up with the employee later. Doctors and urgent cares have their own form that they will fill out themselves and give to us later. So I don't want anybody, I actually had somebody once who broke a leg and sat there and filled out the entire form with a broken leg rather than going straight to the hospital. Go to the hospital first. We will sort everything out after the fact. So please, if it's medically urgent, just go and get it taken care of. One of the first questions an urgent care or a doctor will ask is, were you at work when you were hurt? If the person says yes, they know to automatically fill out their special workers' comp form and send it to the employer, or it goes straight to the workers' comp bureau, who then knows who the employer is. So we can sort all that stuff out after the fact. If it's medically urgent, please go and get medical care. Is FMLA leave for mental health something that is new or been added? So for COVID this school year, that is a great question. FMLA has always been allowed for mental health as long as a counselor, a certified medical provider, a counselor, a psychologist, psychiatrist will certify or sign the FMLA paperwork. An individual can take FMLA leave for that as long as they're a medical provider, and it can be a counselor too. How do you enter time or handle intermittent FMLA? And I apologize, is it Leah? I'm gonna say your name wrong. If you could email me and we can have a conversation offline, because that can take some time. So I will speak with you offline about that. I have a question here. What do you mean modify by Hardrow? If you could clarify that. And if not, you can just email me directly and I can respond to you for that. How much time do you get as far as personal illness? Stacy, that's a great question. It depends on the employee, how long they've been here, and the employee type. If you're taking FMLA leave and you work an 8-hour day, which not everybody does, you get up to 60 work days or 480 hours or whatever the equivalent would be for 12 weeks of job protected leave time that is not paid. If you have sick leave, you would use your sick leave, personal leave, vacation, if you have it, at the same time as that FMLA. So I wish that was a more straightforward question. Stacy, if you want to send me an email, I can answer your specific question individually. I have a question here about maternity leave. Please email me directly. That is a personal question. I will speak with you directly about that. You do not have to do FMLA for maternity leave, Ms. Hill, but you do, it's recommended. you do have to do some kind of leave for maternity leave. If you're not FMLA eligible, you can still apply for a medical leave of absence, which is allowed under state law. What happens with medical insurance on FMLA leave? That is a fantastic question. So if you are on FMLA leave, and you still have sick leave or personal leave, your insurance stays intact. It just gets taken out of your normal payroll deductions. If while you are on FMLA, you go into an unpaid status, you, the employee, are responsible for the employee's share of the premium. Meaning, let's say that the employee's share is $100 a pay. I'm just making this up, $100 a paycheck. The employer's share is $400. You would just owe the $100, the employee share, and that would need to be paid to us, to our benefits department, in order to keep your coverage active. Our benefits department gets a list regularly of people that go into unpaid status on FMLA, and they will typically reach out to you if you do hit that, to let you know. In our approval letter, when you are first approved for FMLA, we also tell you of this and how to reach out to the benefits department. And in the letter, we will typically put the first date that you're going to go unpaid, if you will go unpaid in the leave. Now, if you run out of FMLA, that's where things get a little bit stickier. Once you run out of FMLA and you are still on a medical leave, in Ohio, an employee can be on medical leave longer than the FMLA period. Let's just say you go on a medical leave and it's unpaid and it's not FMLA. You would owe both the employee and the employer portion. And again, our benefits department gets a list of those folks. They reach out to them, and we do tell people this in the approval letters. So that means that if it was $100 for the employee, $400 for the employer, the employee would owe all of that. So all $500, and I'm making that number up, of that premium. So it's beneficial to be on stretch pay since your insurance won't run out as quick. Yes. So I will leave that up to you guys to debate or discuss, but typically, yes. However, it's worth noting, some folks know this, some folks don't. Once you hit unpaid status, you are paid out the remainder of the stretch pay that is owed to you. And they do keep your benefits active for the remainder of the period, but you do want to speak to the benefits department about how that will be handled, because if you're on stretch pay, you reach an unpaid period, you do get paid out your remaining owed stretch pay. So you do want to discuss with the benefits department what your benefits coverage looks like. But yes, it is, to me, it is a benefit. Is it possible for timekeepers to receive the same information regarding leave that principals do? Principals are busy, overwhelmed, and don't always remember to provide this info. Yes, I know they do. So we are working on a better way to communicate. I wish that there was a way, and we are working on a way so that timekeepers get the information. And I don't have a first name, but that is a great question. It's a great point. I know this happens. I know it's frustrating. I know principals and building administrators are super busy and they don't have the time to always send this to you. We are working on this. It might not be this school year. It may be next school year, but that is something we are very aware of and we are working on. Is there paid paternal leave or is there only paid maternal? Great question. There is, if you are in OPSI or CSCSA, there is no option for paternity leave, but you can take FMLA as paternity leave. CEA does have 15 days where they use sick leave, but for CSCSA and OPSI, you do have to use FMLA for paternity leave, however long the doctor, the partner's doctor will give you, the birth parent's doctor. I'm a coach. There are times we leave school early to go to a sporting event. How do we get paid for the rest of the school day? Brian, can you email that to me and we can discuss?
Sure.
Is there adoption leave? Yes, there is. Generally, any leave that applies to paternity, maternity also applies to adoption. So generally it's FMLA. And however, there is a specific provision in the OPSI contract. And if you are interested in adoption leave, please email me because it's highly specific. How far in advance should I start the FMLA process for paternity leave? 30 days. 30 days in advance. You could technically start it today, but we won't actually look at it to process it until 30 days before the expected due date. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. All righty, well, thank you so much, everybody. Again, if you have questions in the future, oh, thank you, Wanda. If you guys have questions, please email me. You can email the leaves team. And if you have any questions, and Lisa's gonna send a survey. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me, and we look forward to working with you guys in the future. And then Lisa, are we okay to end or do we need to keep it
The
open?
survey is in the link. If you guys would please open it and complete it.
Okay.
Thank you. It's in the chat.
And this was recorded, so it will be available after today for you guys to view if you have any other questions. Oh, Elizabeth, great question. Can anyone show up to Human Resources for any reason, or do we need an appointment? Yes, due to COVID, please make an appointment. If somebody does show up, we will try to help them, but we are oftentimes in meetings or busy or assisting another customer. It's best if you make an appointment and with the person that you're trying to see. If you don't know who you're trying to see, email HR and they will get you to the right person. Even with the mask mandate gone, yes. That is a great question. So